unmute you. Staff will monitor emails to the extent possible during the meeting and provide comments as possible. Mark, roll call.
Councilmember Lorimore.
Present.
Councilmember Rigby.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Yao.
Here.
Mayor Plott.
Here. All right. We will now move to item number 5, our invocation, which will be given by Pastor Paul Choi. Pastor Choi, it's all yours. All right, let's bring
coronavirus. We ask, Lord, also that you would give restoration when it comes to our local economy, when it comes to our businesses, when it comes to the different places of employment, Lord. And then, Father, I also ask that you would provide for those that are going through struggles, those that are in dire needs, that desperately need just the touch of God, that need your comfort and your help within their lives. And then, Father, I pray ultimately that you'd give us a spiritual revival as we think about our nation, as we think about our state, as we think about our city, Lord. I pray that we as a people would once again turn to thee. I pray, Father, that we would walk humbly in the fear of the Lord, and we would live in such a manner that would be pleasing in the sight of our Savior. And then, Father, as I think about tonight, as we think about this city council meeting, I pray, Lord, that you would grant a special blessing of wisdom, of courage, of grace and guidance to our mayor, Brandon Plott, and then also our council members. And then, Father, also all those that are in a position of leadership, those that have a position of influence and authority throughout our community. I pray, Father, that you would help them to make wise decisions, not based upon popularity and public perception, but, Lord, based upon that which is right and that which is wrong. And I pray, Father, that you would continually guide them and that you would continually give them the wisdom that they need. And then, Father, we pray that you'd be with everything that takes place in the next several moments, be with the conversations, be with the business that is conducted under the roof of this building. And I pray, Lord, that all of it would take place for the betterment of our community, our city, our society. And then, Father, I pray that everything would be done to magnify and glorify thy name. Father, we love you and we thank you so much for this evening. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Choi, for those kind words and wise words. All right, we'll go to item number 6, our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Mayor Pro Tem Yao.
Thank you, Mayor. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. We'll now move to item number 7, additions and revisions. The council may only add an item to the agenda after making a finding that there is a need to take immediate action on the item, and that item came to the attention of the agency subsequent to the posting of the agenda. An action adding item to the agenda requires a majority vote of the council. Mark, is there anybody that's asked to revise or add anything from staff?
No, Mayor.
Okay, I'll give a moment here from any council members that would like to add or revise. All right, seeing that there's a pause, I'll move on to the next item, which is 8.1, our presentations and announcement, Riverside County Animal Control, presentation on adopting a pet. We got a little friend here today, so it's all yours.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Dane Erickson. I'm your Eastvale Animal Control Officer, and I'm happy to be here today to introduce you to Tommy. He's a dog that was brought into our shelter as a stray. Unfortunately, no microchip or tag or anything for us to be able to figure out where he belongs. So if we can't get him back to his old home, hopefully we can find him a new one here in Eastvale. He's about 2. He's neutered. His disposition seems relatively calm. You know, he's a little Chihuahua mix. So they can be pretty hyper, but he's a little bit on the lower end of the hyper scale, which is good. A little tiny bit shy at first, but warms up quickly. His animal ID number is A1594575. So if anyone is interested in adopting him, you can make an appointment at our website at www.rcdas.org. And also, just as an added note, the Clear the Shelters month, dogs and cats, the adoption fee is only $20, and that goes until the end of this month. So if Tommy's not the one for you, you know, there are other animals there. And yeah, I guess that's about it for Tommy. So
Thank you for that. Is there any questions by chance? Thank you. Thank you for coming out. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. I'm gonna take one quick picture real quick. Thank you again. Thank you for coming on out. We appreciate it. We'll now move to item 8.2, which the group that wasn't able to make it, but at least we'll go over the presentation of, actually, there it is. Okay. And it's it's about the proclamation of International Awareness Day 2020. The City of Eastville is pleased to proclaim August 31st, 2020 as International Overdose Awareness Day. This day is about remembering the loved ones we have lost and acknowledge the grief of family and friends left behind. It also is about taking real action to save lives. This year, the cause we are engaged in is more important than ever because the evidence is clear. COVID-19 is leading to increased overdose deaths in the United States. This campaign has achieved so much despite no external funding, but to keep making a difference. We need the community's help. On behalf of the Eastville City Council, I do hereby proclaim August 31st, 2020 as Overdose Awareness Day in the City of Eastville. So we have our certificate of recognition here, and then we'll go to that group as well. Perfect. All right. So now move to item 8.3, which is military banner presentations. And so I'd like to invite the families of Jonathan Lindquist and Taylor Nakamoto at the podium. All right. You want to come up with me? You got the banners. Is this on? All right, perfect. All right. I'll give you the certificates after. The City Council is proud to recognize Taylor Nakamoto and Jonathan Lindquist. Taylor proudly served the country from March 15th to March 2020 during the enlistment. Taylor worked in the air traffic control. She spent 2 years in Japan, 1 month in Yuma, Arizona, and 2 weeks in Norway before spending the remainder of her military service in Beaufort, South Carolina. Here to receive Taylor's military band on her behalf is her mother, Christine. It was awesome. It's a great picture. And we'll space out. Okay. Yeah, we'll do both. All right, so you're next now. Yeah, we'll do it after. Jonathan pursued his childhood dream of becoming a Marine in January 2016. He began his time in the U.S. Marine Corps as a private. 1 year later, he was pinned a Lance Corporal. Then 2 years later, he became a corporal. Here to receive Jonathan's military banner, and on his behalf are his parents, Derry, right, and Judy Shoemaker. The City of Eastville would like to recognize and honor Taylor and Jonathan for their selfless dedication and service to the country. Thank you both very much, and I want to thank them as well. Thank you.
Mayor, if I might just add, having a son that also served, I know the difficulty of having a child in the military and being the mother at home. And we want to thank you very much because it was a huge sacrifice on your part. I know there was a lot of lost nights of sleep worrying about where they were at all the time and their safety. So thank you very much to the parents and raising great young children that served our military and our country.
Yeah, we can come back. So our 8.4 recognition is Gabby Garcia, who's a professional world recognized jiu-jitsu fighter and an MMA fighter. But she just texted me. She says she's 2 minutes away. But what we'll do is,
We can circle back after public comment.
oh, she's here. What we'll do is we'll go to public comment, and then we'll come back after public. We'll go to public comment, then we'll come back and we'll go after. We'll recognize her after. Any member of the public may address the council on items within the council's subject matter jurisdiction, but which are not listed on this agenda during public comments. However, no action may be taken on matters that are not part of the posted agenda. We request comments made on the agenda be made at the time the item is considered, and that comments be limited to 3 minutes per person. If you wish to submit a public comment, please email the city clerk's office at cityclerk@eastvaleca.gov. Staff will monitor emails to the best extent possible during the meeting, and comments will be made part of the record. Once public comment has been received via email, comments will then be read into the record with a maximum allowance of 3 minutes per individual comment. If a comment is received after the agenda item is heard, but before the close of the meeting, the comment will be included as part of the record of the meeting, but will not be read at the meeting. If you are joining using the GoToWebinar, raise your hand now, and the clerk will call you when it is your turn. We will wait a few seconds. Mark, is anybody that's asked for public comment?
Yes, Mayor, we have 2 written public comments, so I'll start with those. The first one is from Keith White. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Well, I have some good news. I found out that the Omni trains will start coming to Eastvale on September 8th, 2020, serving Amazon here in Eastvale. The new Route 87 will extend into the Riverside County line to serve the Eastvale Amazon distribution warehouses along Goodman Avenue. This bus will serve Chaffey College, Ontario, Eastvale. This bus will run Monday through Saturday. Also, we had an RTA Now meeting, and we had a presentation on I-15 project update. The next virtual meeting is scheduled for September 10th, 2020 at 9 a.m. Also, the next RTA board meeting is Thursday, September 24th, 2020. Thank you for your time. Sincerely yours, Keith White. Next comment is from Anton Guo. Good evening, Eastville council members and city staff. To sustain our city's public hygiene, I will outline 3 methods in my proposal sent to the city council during this summer. I firmly believe our city can improve by first keeping its residents in optimal health. By continual maintenance of small aspects, we can greatly enhance the wellness of everyone. First, I created 2 infographics that detail the 8 steps of proper hand washing in at least 20 seconds. Even with mandatory state law signs in restaurants, an addition of a clear, colorful poster reminds both customers and employees to follow the procedures so E. coli infections and norovirus can be lowered. This will keep the reputation of shops, which will help their businesses economically. Second, menus are one of the most touched items in a restaurant. Employees should use saturated EPA disinfectant cloths to clean the spine and page edges. The same applies to restaurants using electronic devices to order food. Furthermore, restaurants should also publicize the need for customers to use hand sanitizer or to wash hands after using a menu to safely enjoy their meal. Since cleaning menus is not on the LA Public Health County booklet, the Riverside County Department of Environmental Health and Restaurant Grading Site can add this entry to their standards so that customers and food industry can stay healthy. Lastly, stores that don't have automatic door entrances should invest in more contactless door handles or adopt a more frequent approach in disinfectant doorknobs. Businesses can invest in Pure Hold door products starting at $36, which can reduce the transmission of COVID-19. If this is not possible, then employees should prepare 2 cloths, one rinsed with EPA disinfectant, and another one with a soap and water to clean doorknobs every 15, 30, and 45 minutes. Since the only way to enter or exit a building is through doors, this contact point is a bath for germs to thrive. Therefore, maintenance on this aspect is important for everyone in Eastville. Overall, these 3 suggestions outlined above are based on my research and findings. I hope the City of Eastville and the Riverside County Public County Health can consider these suggestions to improve our city health. Thank you, everyone, for their time. And
Was that the last of the comments?
no one has raised their hand, so that's the last of the
Okay.
comments.
All right. Well, then I will turn back to item 8.4 because our special guest is also here that we'd love to recognize. It's not too often you actually get a world-recognized celebrity in the room. So I will, if you like, Gabby, if you'd like to come on up with us, and I'd love to present you just with a certificate of recognition from our city council, just kind of about some of the things that you have accomplished and that you are a resident in our city and an example of greatness. So we would love to have you come up and come with us. All right. So this is actually pretty awesome. I'm there's a couple of us here though, but I'm personally a pretty big jiu-jitsu fan and MMA fan. So, but I want to recognize Gabby Garcia for a lot of huge accomplishments that she's been able to accomplish. And I'm sure there's more accolades. And so I apologize if there's anything that I've missed, but, the city is pleased to recognize professional martial artist Gabby Garcia. Gabby is a 9-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion. She's also a 4-time Abu Dhabi combat champion, an 8-time world pro champion, 11-time Pan American champion, a 4-time no-gi world champion. She's a 3rd-degree black belt and is in the Hall of Fame in Jiu-Jitsu and an MMA pro currently with an undefeated record of 6-0. That's pretty astounding accomplishments in itself. She's a pioneer and a role model for women in Jiu-Jitsu and just women generally around the world in combat sports as well. She is the master and the best in her craft. Her dedication to guiding, instructing, and motivating community members to the best they can be makes a great impact to our city. She's also the proprietor and owner of Alliance Jiu-Jitsu, which is out in Ontario, but it also services a lot of our Eastville residents and their children. So we want to congratulate you on all your accomplishments, and we continue because you're not done. You got a lot of work going, and you're still going to be basically tapping people out. So keep making it happen. We do respect you coming out. I know you're very busy. I know you're very busy in your life, but we do appreciate you taking the time. It means the world to us in the city of Eastville. So thank you. It's all recorded.
I first, sorry my English, okay? Thank you so much for you guys inviting me here. I moved to the United States like 5 years ago, and I live here in Eastvale like 1 year and a half. I bought my house here. I opened my school in January, and I'm super happy living here in this neighborhood. It's different than my country, you know. But I'm here for try help the city, the new generation, you know, against bullying, against, you know, more be like better women here in the area. I have a lot of kids in the school, and I hope I help more, you know, the community. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Gabby. And we would love to partner with you too, with the school district ourselves on bullying and those things. That'd be a great thing. And of course, I know we had talked about kind of the domestic violence issue that we're having too, and that could be another outlet that we could partner together. So thank you again. So this is a certificate on our behalf. No, thank you.
Brandon, we can create a ring with chairs if you want to see if you can last 30 seconds.
Okay, well, I'll respond to that one. Yeah, you know, unfortunately, you know, due to social distancing rules, I'm not allowed to do that. So, you know, that might be the only good thing that's coming out of COVID for me, is that it just saved my life. Yeah. No, it's awesome to have you.
We just put a call into the governor. He ended social distancing.
Oh boy. I will be very honest. That would be I would get absolutely annihilated quick. It'd be an over under of 10 seconds. That's what it would be. All right. Yeah. Yeah, I am. All right. All right, we'll now move to item number 11, the consent calendar. All matters on the consent calendar are considered routine and are to be approved with one motion unless a council member, staff member, or a member of the public requests separate action on a specific item. Mark, is there any Eastvale staff member or any members of the public that request to pull any particular item?
No, Mayor.
Council members, are there any items that you would like to pull?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull item 11.10, please.
Okay, so any other items? Just gonna give you I'll give you a few more seconds in this case. All right, with that, I'd like to have a motion on 11.1 through 9 and then 11.11 through 11.14.
So moved on the balance.
Second.
Councilmember Lorimore?
Aye.
Councilmember Rigby?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Yao?
Yes.
Mayor Plott?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, and so 11.10, that's all yours.
Mr. Mayor, I don't think we need a staff report. This has been brought to us before, but I just wanted to verify with staff that staff feels completely comfortable that this is being accepted, as there's been some concerns brought up in the past from residents just regarding some of the I think it's more of the inner work that has been done at this project. I just want to make sure that it's not going to affect us when we accept the public improvements part of it.
It's on now. Okay, all right, there we go. Yeah, so staff looked at the project. We understand there is a lawsuit that's going on, but it's more for on-site. We're very satisfied with the work that was done, and we've done several walks through with them, and we've made sure that the work was completed and meets our standards.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I just want to make sure I know it's more of the on-site work, but I just want to make sure that it won't affect us, because I hear that part of it's drainage, and drainage has to go from on-site to off-site, and that it just won't affect us. But if you feel comfortable with it and staff feels comfortable with the recommendation, then I will move for approval if there's no further questions or comments on this item.
Thank you.
And that was a motion, so do we have a second?
Second. Second.
Clinton, can you, or are you able to turn off your mic real quick?
Councilmember Lorimore?
Aye.
Councilmember Rigby?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Yao?
Yes.
Mayor Plott?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, we'll now move to item 12, public hearings. At this time, we will conduct one public hearing item. If you'd like to speak before the city council tonight, please email the city clerk's office at cityclerk@eastvaleca.gov. If you are joining using the GoToWebinar, raise your hand platform during the public comment portion, and the clerk will call you when it is your turn. Following the staff report and opening of the public hearing, I will ask the city clerk to read any comments that have been submitted electronically and call on those who would like to speak. We'll begin the public hearing with item 12.1, which is the Limelight Gap Closure Project. The city project number is 93206. It's a request for consideration of the project, California Environmental Quality Act, draft initial study with mitigated negative declaration. And this will be presented by Jason Killebrew.
Hi, Mayor, members of the council, Jason Killebrew, Planning Manager. The request tonight is to continue that item to our next September 9 City Council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Lorimore?
Aye.
Councilmember Rigby?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Yao?
Yes.
Mayor Plott?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right. We'll now move to item 13, City Council business, which leads us to 13.1, the approval of the CARES Act Coronavirus Relief Fund allocation. Expenditure categories including the Eastvale Emergency Enterprise Grant Program for small businesses. And this will be presented by, by two, Gina Gibson-Williams and Amanda Wells. So it is all whoever wants to start it first.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. This is Amanda Wells, Finance Director. So tonight on agenda item 13.1, we have the CARES Act Coronavirus Relief Fund expenditure categories and Eastvale Emergency Enterprise Grant Program for small businesses. So staff is suggesting that the council approve the expenditure categories, which is essentially the city's spending plan for the Coronavirus Relief Fund, and approve the business grant program, which is going to utilize those CRF funds. Okay, so these are the 5 expenditure categories that were proposed by staff on July 22nd. The first is to reimburse the city for any expenditures that have already been spent, and a category of future costs that we have set aside. So that would be a total of $158,000. One of the expenditure categories was to put video equipment in the council chambers. That's estimated at $42,000. We have an economic recovery and action plan, which is put together by HDL, which is one of our vendors. That's $13,000. And then we are proposing the Emergency Enterprise Grant Program for small businesses, a set aside of $350,000 for that. And then whatever is left over, plus unspent funds from other categories that don't get spent, would go towards our public safety contract. Assuming that we spend everything as it's here on this slide, that would be $258,000 towards the public safety contract. So the Small Business Grant Program, we have put together a program overview, which details all of the requirements of the grant, and then there's also a grant application. Those will be available on a website. We're going to try to get that up tomorrow morning, and then there will be an email for any questions that businesses may have, and where they can also submit their applications. So the basic minimum requirements, without going into too much detail, is that the business must be in Eastvale for at least the last 6 months. They must be a for-profit, and they must show a loss of income due to COVID-19 business interruption. Additionally, they have to demonstrate that the grant will be used for operational needs such as rent, utility payments, or payroll. And then there's a couple other items that go into greater detail on the program overview that we have. The grant awards will range from $8,000 to $12,000. It'll be based on a first come, first serve award basis, and we will use a ranking system in order to determine what the award amount is that businesses qualify for. The ranking system gives points for the owner being in the city, if they plan to utilize the funds to create additional jobs or preserve existing jobs, if they are a service, retail, or restaurant business, and if they have not received other federal, state, or local assistance. And then we have some ineligible applicants. Those are businesses that are going through bankruptcy, investments, companies, lending institutions, nonprofits, and then businesses that do not meet the small business criteria that's put out by the U.S. I forget what they are, U.S. Small Business Bureau, I think. And then we have some required documentation. The businesses have to prove that they've had some loss of revenue due to COVID-19 business interruption, and whatever they have that can supplement that. So that might be tax returns, bank statements, a lease agreement that shows that they actually are a business in the city, and then of course a W-9 form so that we can get them into our accounts payable system. And then we have some eligible and ineligible activities, and that would be using the funds to cover insurance or damages that would be covered by insurance, any donor reimbursement, severance pay, legal settlements. The funds cannot be used towards that. And then continuing on with our program overview, we've got a really large frequently asked question, so that will be posted to the website. And then the basic application process will be that applications will be opened as soon as the website is up and running tomorrow through September 10th. And then applications will be due on September 10th by 5:30 p.m. We will notify the businesses by September 17th about the awards, and then the awards will be disseminated by September 24th. And then the email address for any questions and the applications to go to is businessgrants@eastvalec.gov. If for some reason we don't expense the full $350,000 by this 9/17 period, we could potentially open up a phase 2 and try to get the expenditures out by the end of October, which is the deadline for the Department of Finance. So the recommendations here are to approve the expenditure categories funded by the CARES Act Coronavirus Relief Fund allocations, and then to approve the Eastvale Emergency Enterprise Grant Program in the amount of $350,000 for small businesses funded by the Coronavirus Relief Fund allocations, and to authorize the city manager to approve individual grants of a not to exceed amount of $12,000 and execute all necessary documents. So that's the presentation, and Gina and I are available to answer any questions.
Thank you for that, Amanda. We appreciate that. Before we go into council questions or discussion, we'll go to public comment. So if you are joining using the GoToWebinar, make sure to use the raise your hand platform, and the city clerk will call when it is your turn. We will wait a few seconds during that time. Mark, is there any public comments on this particular item?
No, Mayor.
Okay, then let's wait just maybe a couple seconds to see if anybody wants to, if you see a little raise your hand platform or icon, then we'll just wait a little bit. All right, we'll now turn to council for discussion, and I guess what we'll do is we'll start with you, Clint.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, staff, for putting this presentation together. And I think this is something that's very important for our small businesses. Really quickly, in terms of having small businesses know that the city is going through this process with that short window of application time, what are the plans for doing that?
So I've been working with our city clerk and communications director. We've got, I think, some, what am I trying to say? The social media, but you've already got like graphics ready to go, I think, right? So we're gonna do a pretty heavy advertising through social media, and the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I think with a lot of small business owners, not everybody's on social media. So if there is a way that we can move past just strictly social media and posting it on our website, I don't know what that is exactly, but if staff could please think outside of the box on that. I know you do a good job of doing that already. Just I think it's important with a lot of small business owners spend their time behind the counter and not on social media. And so if we could make an effort towards that, it would be appreciated. Thank you.
Councilman, this is Gina Gibson Williams. Just to let you know that we have a database of the businesses, and so we can have someone call the businesses and also reach out to them directly through our economic development newsletter.
We have a data. Councilmember Lorimer, we have a database that we have our email. We'll send it out to everybody that's registered to our email as well, so that anybody, customers or whatever, can also spread the word. Or if they know somebody that owns a business in Eastvale, they can share that information. We also have our business registration, and we also have our weekly email, or every other week, that goes out to our businesses through our economic development and connection. So there's a number of different email lists that we can get that information out to businesses, and we can also make phone calls too. So the word of mouth will get out quickly.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Lorimer, for that. That's a great question. Thank you for bringing that up. All right, Councilmember Rigby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I had a couple of questions. One of the criteria, or I'm sorry, it's a grant award will be based upon a point system. Each item listed below garners the applicant a point. The applicant's business generates less than $50,000 gross revenue each year. Is that that's just to give a point system? So I would assume that, how does that work for that specific one?
So that would be if they generate less than $50,000 in gross revenue each year, it would get them a point on this scale, which would make them eligible for a higher grant award amount. So if we wanted to raise that dollar amount, we could raise the dollar amount. And we were kind of going to try to find those micro businesses. Some cities such as Moreno Valley are just doing micro businesses. So it was kind of a way to try to pick out the small business owner, really truly small business owner. But we could change that dollar amount.
Okay, so this gives a little bit more weight to the micro class, basically.
Correct.
Okay. All right, I'm fine with that. I think that's who we kind of want to focus on, as well as some of these big businesses that have been hit pretty hard that can use it. One of the things that I would recommend is that we follow this process, but once this process is been vetted, that we take it to, I don't know if we use the same ad hoc committee that we had before with the council, or if we create a new ad hoc committee. I'm not sure how we do that for final approval, just because $350,000 for us to allocate. I appreciate the process that staff has done. I think this is a great process, but I do think that council needs to be involved in the final decision for the $350,000 process. And I would recommend that it would be the same way that we do the current program of staff makes the recommendation and just verifies it for final approval through the ad hoc committee.
So Councilmember Rigby, we have a couple different ad hocs that we could use for this. We can use the business incentive ad hoc, or we could use the COVID restaurant relief fund, restaurant economic recovery fund, which might be the more appropriate one. But we did just lose Councilmember Tessari on that one, I believe. So later in this agenda, we'll be able to appoint somebody else to be on that ad hoc. I think it's right now it's just you. It was you and former Councilmember Tessari. What we need to do is we'll identify that second person to help you out.
if no one joins that committee, then no, we aren't taking it to the committee. We're leaving it up to staff. I don't want I don't want it being on me. So that's my heads up. Someone else better jump on that committee too, or else we're in trouble. I appreciate that. So this money has to be allocated and given out by September, what was the date? I think it's September 24th is what we're shooting for.
So we're actually looking for the week. I think 9/17 is a Thursday. So that week we need to determine who's going to receive the awards and notify the businesses, and then we're going to cut checks on the 23rd and mail them on the 24th. And the reason that we're on such a tight schedule is here, the DOF wants the funds spent by the end of October. So if we cannot get the full 350,000 out, we want to get phase 1 done, figure out how much money we have left, and then go for a phase 2. So if the ad hoc committee, we need to get together that week that includes 9/17 in order to get this out the door.
Okay, thank you. My question on this is we have a 6-month requirement that they had to have been in business 6 months prior. Is that in business, or is that registration with the city, business registration with the city, or how are we calculating that date? And 6 months puts us right at that March date of when we kind of went into, if we call it a lockdown, whatever we want to call it, when the COVID-19 really kind of started to face. My only concern my question, I guess, is are we putting this on businesses that have been in business, or are we trying to focus on businesses that have been in business? Are we trying to allow businesses that just started up during this, or both, or what is our ultimate goal, or are we really looking at that too much?
So I think the intent we may need to clean up the language on this. So it should be for the last 6 months prior to March, but they still should be in business today. That's the intent, is to make sure that they were actually existing in business as of March. So 6 months prior to March, and then they're still in business today. That's the intent.
So it's basically 12 months, about a year from now, or a year prior, they should have been in business. Okay.
Correct.
I like that, because I think that helps us clarify, and it helps us to focus on businesses that have been up and running rather than helping businesses. This isn't to help businesses start. This is helping businesses get through what has happened. There's other opportunities to help businesses get up and running. In the city, and our economic development is more than happy to talk with any business owner or any business that is trying to get up and running during this time. But this is not that type of program to help businesses really get up and running. This is to help businesses that have started before that. So I like that. If we can just clarify that language in there so that it is clear. I don't know if we put a date. I think it may be a little bit easier saying your business had to be in business. And what do we consider in business? Do we consider in business me talking to someone that, hey, I'm selling widgets, and I don't start selling that widget for another 6 months, but I started talking about it back then? Or is it business registration when your business was registered with the city, or just so it's clear for anyone that comes?
We can clarify that you had to have an existing business registration as of X date. That would probably
perfect.
clarify.
That would be great. Thank you. And my last question was just to echo Councilmember Lorimore's question, was just about getting it out. We like to think that social media is all-knowing, all-powerful, gets to everyone in our community, but I don't think it's effective, but it's not as effective, especially with some of these business owners that are not active on social media. So I think if whatever we can do to utilize other sources, I like what Gina was saying, to even reach out and call. I think that would be huge. I think that would be very good. And I'm sure we could utilize the chamber also to help with phone calls if we needed to assign people out to that. So I like that. I like this. I appreciate what staff has done to get this going. And I guess just my last question on this is, we feel comfortable that all of these allocations of this fund fall within the parameters that were allotted to utilize this money, because the last thing we would want is to send this money out, get audited, and then find out that, we weren't supposed to spend it on that.
So I've been monitoring the expenditures, each expenditure that comes through, even if it's for $5, I've personally been monitoring them and then transferring them through an accounting entry into a specific fund. So we're keeping a pretty tight grip on what we're spending, and we're tracking it in finance.
Awesome. And not only with the COVID-19, but with just our expenditures in general, I appreciate all that you have done, all that your staff has done, all that our entire staff has done to make sure that our expenditures are within our budgets and that we're doing a good job, and that's what's helped us to be successful. So I appreciate all that finance staff as well as all that our entire staff has done. So thank you.
And just one more comment. I've also been working with our emergency management specialist, Ava Tarakova, to find some other grants to cover some of the items that this particular CARES grant will not, or the CARES funds that we received will not cover.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for that, council member Rigby. I was actually putting council member and Lorimore all in one word. That was pretty incredible. Council Moore. All right. Mayor Pro Tem Yao.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have actually, I'm on the opposite end. I actually had an issue. Well, I have some concern with this, what I thought was the 6 months clause, and now it's a year. I actually feel like, because the reality is nobody knew that this was happening, and I feel for the businesses, for small businesses who open up right before COVID-19, literally, like it could be a month or two, or maybe like a few months before COVID-19, and they took out all the loans, and just to have this happen, and next thing you know, they have to shut down back in March or April. So I don't know, like I was leaning towards maybe shortening, like maybe less than 6 months. I was thinking along the line of like maybe 4 or 5 months, but that's how, at least that's how I see it. Because again, like nobody planned for this, and I think none of the businesses knew about this. So that's my take on that. And then the other question that I have is, if this is a big if we have more businesses that qualify than the funding that we currently allocated for that, how do we make sure that we're actually, how should I phrase it? How do we make sure that we're choosing which businesses to give away the money for? Like, how do we make sure that there's no favoritism? I guess that's my question.
So it's a first come, first served basis. So as long as the applications come in, they will be received and dated and time stamped as they come in. And if that business qualifies and they fit the ranking system, that will be the award that they get, and it will continue on in that order. So there is no picking and choosing, so to speak, who gets it. It will just be a first come, first served basis.
Got it. Thank you for the clarification. Okay, well, those are the only 2 questions / concerns that I have. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mayor Pro Tem. Yeah, my colleagues have done a great job kind of vetting through this. But yeah, you kind of echo some of the words, and this is, we have also some of the room that's been very much impacted by this in our business, right? And so it resonates all over our city and, in other cities and around the world. And so I'm glad that there's something that we could do where there is some dollar amounts that we can allocate. And I think how staff is vetting this is appropriate. Everything I've been looking at is the right way to do it. I think going back to Councilmember Lorimore, it's kind of first thought is just let's vet through that list as best as we can to get that word out. So let people know that there's a good possibility that they're eligible for that. And Yeah, but I'm grateful. I think this is an awesome thing. I don't have any particular questions. I think all my questions and concerns have been answered. So, and some. So, you have one other question, council member?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate and totally understand Mayor Pro Tem's concern with the newer businesses. My only concern is this is not a startup funding process. I understand that, yes, there are some businesses that did start up right before the pandemic and no one knew about this. What I'd recommend is maybe like you said, Amanda, that if we get this going early enough, then we can possibly do a round 2. I'd recommend that we do a round 1 as stated with a few adjustments with the language, cleaning up the language, and that we possibly look at opening it up to businesses, newer businesses for round 2. I think would give some of our longer businesses that have been here I don't want to say more established, but have been in the city a little bit longer, would give them kind of an opportunity, but then would also give these other businesses an opportunity for the newer businesses. At the same time, too, as Amanda mentioned, we're also looking at additional grants to see what we can do to help other businesses. So maybe we can utilize some of those additional grants for some of the newer businesses. But I think round 1 probably needs to go towards the businesses that have been here, because that's what this CARES Act is for businesses that have been up and running.
Any other comments or questions on that? Okay. So just a real quick question then, are we recommending to the staff's recommendations then? Is that what our motion should be then? Are we going in that direction, or?
Did you want to use the ad hoc committee rather than, because this will authorize the city manager to improve the grants. So you may have to revise the number 2 recommendation.
Yeah, so if there's no other comments or questions by council, I would motion for approval of these expenditures with cleaning up the language and the length of time, as well as adding for a final verification through an ad hoc, the Economic Recovery ad hoc committee. But we continue as recommended with the point system, and that staff just brings a recommendation to that ad hoc committee. So I don't know if that's clear for a motion.
Yeah, I think it's still key that I execute the checks, because it'll make it more streamlined than having
yes.
the ad hoc.
The authority is for the delegate manager, which can include a review process.
Correct. Just for on the or on the recording, that the process or the authority would still be through the city manager, but the review would be through the ad hoc committee.
All right. Do we have seems like the motion was pretty clear. Do we have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Lorimore?
Aye.
Councilmember Rigby?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Yao?
Yes.
Mayor Plott?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, thank you. We will now move to item 13.2, inclusionary. Oh, hold on one second.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. If we can, Amanda, if you can keep us kind of up to date, maybe the next city council meeting as to the applications on that, so that we can start to think about a round 2. And like Mayor Pro Tem Yao mentioned, that if we can possibly open up to smaller businesses and not wait till we get to the deadline. So if we can just kind of have somewhat of an update, that'd be great. Thank you.
We can bring that back in the COVID item that we have.
All right, we'll now move to item 13.2, the inclusionary administrative policy, and this will be presented by Brian Jones. I'm excited for this one too, as well. That's all of them, but this one I'm excited for.
Glad we can get you excited. So with this inclusionary policy, one of the key things is we always want our organization to be mirroring what is happening in our community and addressing what's happening in our community. we have one of the most diverse communities in Southern California. However, we don't want to just be one of the most diverse communities. We want to be a shining example of what an inclusive community can be, not only for all of Southern California, but for the nation and the world. So with that, a starting off point with a purpose is to achieve equity within all aspects of our community and to create an inclusionary environment where all residents' voices are heard, faces are seen, and everyone feels welcome and safe. And I think this transcends ethnicity and culture to even our conversations that we've been having this past week about domestic violence. And so that makes sure everybody, even in our homes, in our bedrooms, are feeling safe and welcome, and that their faces are seen and voices are heard. And with that, there's and this is just the. We got to get a new battery. With that, there's 7 key elements that will be fleshed out even more, but this is a starting point in a living document and a draft document. But community engagement and communications, there's going to be a focus on inclusionary there, raise awareness with racial inequalities in our community, build bridges between public safety and our community, and we have a strong commitment from both CAL FIRE and Riverside Sheriff's Office to do this. City organizational policies and decision making, create a compassionate city, create a platform for increased inclusionary cultural participation, and last but not least, engage our youth and neighbors. There's a lot of work going on in our community. So I don't know if so the recommendation that the City Council approve the proposed inclusionary policy as a launching off pad for much more conversations, dialogue within the council, within our organization, and within our community. And this is a strong commitment from our City Council as well as staff to strive to be the most inclusive community and city in all of America.
Thank you, Brian, for that presentation. Before we go to before we go to council discussions or questions, we'll go to public comment. Mark, is there anybody that has requested to speak?
No, Mayor.
Okay, I'll wait a few seconds in case someone wants to use their raise your hand icon. And then if not, we'll end up going to council. I'll start out with you first. All right. So there's no questions there's no public comment. We will move to council for discussion, and we'll start with Councilmember Rigby.
Mr. Mayor, I don't have any questions right now, but I think this is this is good. I'm appreciative of this, especially considering the times, and it's always good for us to be a good example and for people to look at the city of Eastville as to what we're doing.
Perfect, thank you. Councilmember Lorimore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, this is a wonderful first step. And I'm very appreciative of staff's hard work in putting this together. It is representative of, I believe, our city, in that we are a majority-minority city, and it is something to celebrate the diversity that we have here in town. But I do want to highlight that this is one of the first steps, and to really, we can write all the documents that we want unless we put it into action. And I know staff is keen on doing this, but unless we put it into action and truly live it, you know, the words are just words. And I'm looking forward to continued community outreach on this subject, and more than that, having community involvement across the board. We have a very diverse community, many different ethnic groups and minority populations and I really enjoy when we have events that reflect that, and I'm looking forward to being at more of them, participating in more of them, because it is truly something we're celebrating, and I do enjoy celebrating it. So those are my comments, and great job, everybody, for your hard work on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Mayor Pro Tem Yao.
Thank you, Mayor. I second everything that Councilmember Lori Moore said. Absolutely, this is a great first step, and I look forward to hearing more about this as we move forward. Yes, it is nice to be a diverse city, but it's actually even more important that we are an inclusive city. So, yeah, but again, thank you, staff, for putting together this, and I look forward to hearing more about it.
Thank you. Yeah, just kind of what Mayor Pro Tem Yao just said is something that I like to tell people. This is we always kind of brag and tout about how we're such a diverse city, and that's awesome and great. But my always question is, okay, well, good, but what are we doing to optimize that? And I think this is the direction of how we optimize that opportunity. Otherwise, we're just a diverse city, and are we really reaping the benefits of that? And I think doing what we're doing now is making that go in that right direction to optimize the opportunities that we have to connect each other, become more learned and understanding with each other. So all for it. Thank you, staff, for putting this together. With that, then sounds like we've got pretty much a big consensus here. So
Mayor,
yes,
if I might also add, if you guys just want to make this a priority on the strategic plan, we'll just add this into the strategic plan so that as we bring more items back to council to address this, we can highlight that this is a strategic plan focus of becoming, being the best inclusive city we can possibly be.
Yeah, I wouldn't see a problem. Just kind of let my colleagues, Todd, Councilmember Lorimore, Mayor Pro Tem Yao, are you good with that?
Sounds good.
I'm nodding my head.
Okay, perfect. All right, with that, can I get a motion in a second?
So I move.
Second.
Councilmember Lorimore?
Aye.
Councilmember Rigby?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Yao?
Yes.
Mayor Plott?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, let's get my agenda back up here. All right, we will now move to item 13.3, the strategic plan update, and this will also be presented by our city manager, Brian Jones.
So the strategic plan update goes back to August of 2018 when we had an all-day workshop open to the public. We followed it up and adopted it in November of 2018, and staff have been busy every quarter updating you on all the great progress we've been making. You can see where we have a little inflection point there with COVID-19, but we're still bringing quarterly updates back to council. And this is August 26th, the 6th quarterly update for the council. Here's the strategic plan target areas. Utilize video and social media platforms. We're going to be having a 9/11 ceremony on September 11th, and it will be a virtual event that will be live streamed on Facebook and Instagram. And we're also going to have our 9th annual Eastvale State of the City and our 10th anniversary of our incorporation, so our 10th birthday. And the theme is Celebrate Resilience, and I couldn't think of a better theme for our 10th anniversary. So well done on that. So both of those are going to be virtual so that everybody can participate. Target 2 goal number 1, enhance quality of life, community enhancement, safety coordinated cleanup of a residence with overgrown weeds. And this just happened this last week. I believe Councilmember Todd Rigby participated in this, but it was one of our community enhancement and safety officers that organized this on his own time to help out one of the residents in our community improve the quality of their front yard so that their neighborhood had a better quality of life. And this is just one of the great ways that our staff go way above and beyond to serve our community, and so do our council members. Target number 1, goal 10, create out-of-the-box strategies to engage the partnership. We launched the Engage Eastvale platform. If you're not signed up for the Engage Eastvale platform, you're missing out, and we encourage you to go online to engage.eastvaleca.gov and join the conversation. We also partnered with the Chamber of Commerce on the economic development, the Eastville COVID-19 Restaurant Relief Fund, presented 1,000 gift cards to Eleanor Roosevelt High School graduating seniors, and that was due to a great donation from a business in Eastville. Target 3, Goal 12, explore CCA possibilities with the WCE launched in May 1st of 2020 with a goal of saving residents at least 2% on their utility bills, and that has been a great program in the making. So, target number 4, strengthen organizational development effectiveness. We hired our accounting manager, our building official, assistant planner, and planning technician, and we had an employee of the quarter, and I believe the employee of the quarter, the pictures were on here, but it was Miguel and Anissa. So over the last quarter, we had Miguel and Anissa both get employee of the quarter in different quarters. As these are the positions that were approved on June 10th. Some cities still haven't gotten their recruitments out from their budget approvals, and we already have people starting in our city. So well done to our talent attraction and development team and everybody that's serving on those panels. And that is led by Angelica Zepeda and her team. Target number 4, goal number 1, strengthen organizational development. And we took this, brought this before council in July. We champion experiences that engage, excite, and elevate our community with a bold focus on unity in our community. And we do that through our core values of kindness with selfless concern for all, grit, passion, and resilience in everything we do, solutions-driven, courageous, creative, and collaborative results. And you don't hear often governments describe themselves as courageous, creative, and collaborative. And that is something that sets Eastville apart in our organization. And I couldn't be more proud of the team that we have here as we manage public resources and deliver community services. Target number 4, goal number 2, enhance customer service experience, updated City Hall lobby and operating hours to ensure safety of residents, visitors, and staff. We have been open and we are still open for appointments at City Hall, and we are walk-ins between 8 and noon. And we have safety barriers for COVID for both our staff and the public. Enhance customer service experience. As you come to the City Hall, or you can check in on an app, you can use your GR code or QR code to make an appointment right outside the City Hall. The system was launched in early June, and over 1,000 individuals have utilized the software and come to our front counter. So that's pretty amazing for what we've been doing in spite of COVID or because of COVID. Target number 4, goal number 2, enhance customer service. We held on-site COVID-19 testing on July 27th, open to staff and supporting agencies. I got a negative test. Take the pledge to stop the spread. Target number 4, goal number 2, enhance customer service experience. Coordinated with the Eastville Chinese American Association for community mass distribution, and free mass distribution at City Hall will occur on September 1st, 2020. The Chamber also did a mass distribution to business owners and gave a bunch of them away. We, as you all recall, on June 10th, you adopted an amazing budget that was transformative and a big heavy lift as COVID was attacking us. And we are now providing quarterly interim financial reports to the council, and I think you should expect a quarterly interim financial report at the end of September. So the second meeting in September we will have, and so far we're seeing some good numbers come in. But we're also hearing that there might be some reasons why that is, and so we're really digging in to make sure are there anomalies or what happened. So that's why it's going to take a little extra time to make sure we're giving good information to council to make decisions on moving forward. Target number 5, goal number 6, evaluate the city's franchise agreements. We are in negotiations with both of our franchise haulers to select one franchise hauler. And so we are hoping, or we're not hoping, we anticipate this to be brought back to council by October of 2020, and we will select one hauler to move forward with the city after the sunset clause of the franchise. So we are excited about that. I need a little help. There we go. And questions.
Thank you, Brian, for that. Definitely informative and very intuitive, and a lot of good information there. There's definitely a lot of lifting going on in the last several months. Mark, has there been any public comment?
No, Mayor.
All right, we'll just wait a few seconds, see if the raise your hand icon comes on. All right, we'll go to council for discussion. Then Councilmember Lorimor, we'll start with you if you have any questions or comments.
That's excellent. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Jones, for the presentation. It's good to have a recap of all the great things that city staff is implementing on this front. I did want to start the discussion and actually ask for or plan for the future, and that is in the first quarter of next year. We will have 2 new council members, and I would like everybody to, with the new council, it would be great to see a continuation of this and have everybody's, the new council's participation, new council members' participation in the goal-making process. And I'm sure this was already something that was in the thought process, but similar to what we did in 2018, I would like to really do a deep dive when we get to that stage. Anytime in that first quarter, I would like, of course, it would be good to have the new council members get their feet wet a little bit. But if we could start planning for that, lining up the consultant to come in and help facilitate, I think it'll be important so that we continue to move forward with the good work and the vision that the council, this current council has already put forward, but also to include the vision of those that will be coming on board. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Lorimor. We'll go to Councilmember Rigby.
I would completely agree with Councilmember Lorimor. I think it'd be very helpful and very crucial for us to have that strategic plan review with the new council. I think that would be very good to do. So if we can definitely try and plan that the first quarter would be great. The one question I did have was well, first, before I get into that, I appreciate this. This is awesome for us to have this strategic plan and not only have it and have it on the shelf like a lot of organizations do, but for us to be constantly revisiting and updating and seeing the areas that we're working on and moving towards. So this is awesome to see. The question that I have is regarding the Target 1, Goal 2, the 9/11 ceremony. Is that going to be strictly an online virtual event?
We're going to have a few Boy Scouts to help raise the flag and firefighters out at the station, but for the most part, we're going to be doing it virtual so people can watch it at home so that they can practice social distancing if they still would like to participate in the 9/11 ceremony. It's really hard to plan community events right now because we don't know what the state of California and Riverside County is going to allow us to do or not do. And so we have a number of contingencies in place, but we at least have to provide a virtual for those that don't feel comfortable or safe and want to practice social distancing.
I think that's great, and I think it gives everyone the opportunity to participate in it. Like you said, whether or not they want to gives them the opportunity to participate social distancing wise. My only concern is I think we need to open it up to those that want to be there. Right now, we have gone through a lot with our council chambers. Our council chambers is currently open to whoever wants to come. It gives people the opportunity to come, or it gives people the opportunity to watch or to listen online. This is an important day. This is an important day to remember, and it is a day set aside to mourn those that have passed and that suffered during this time or that causes from this. We've also had the opportunity to be able to participate in processions of other military that have come. People aren't forced to be out there. People have the opportunity. I think it'd be great to give our residents the opportunity to come out, as well as the opportunity to participate virtual like this. So if there's any way that we can open it up, we aren't forcing people, we're still giving people the opportunity to participate virtual. I think it'd be good to give people the opportunity to come pay their respects in person if possible.
We had not planned to invite the community there due to social distancing and gatherings, but we can identify if that can be made, and if we can, we'll do it on social media, but I can't make that guarantee at this time. We need to check on a few of those things. But it would be a very limited thing because the sidewalk is very narrow out there on Hamner, and the driveway isn't super big to accommodate a big crowd. So, and in years past, we've had a few hundred people out there. So, we got to figure out the right balance, but we can figure that out.
Yeah, no, I totally understand, and I appreciate looking into that. Years past, looking at what we have had in the past, I would say that there's an opportunity to be able to social distance people, and it gives people the opportunity to come if they want to, or if they don't want to come. It really gives it up to them. So I appreciate looking into that. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Yao.
I don't have any questions, and thank you, staff, for preparing this. I don't have any other comments at this point. Thank you.
Yeah, again, thank you, Brian. Thank you, staff, for just continuously targeting, the goals that are set forth that have been kind of directed by council over the last few years now. And so it continues to change and be living. And I think this is just a great example of going through COVID. Some of these goals kind of change over time and kind of adapts, but somehow in some way, shape, or form, we're still targeting. When we talk about community enhancement, we use this is the second time we're doing the giveaways of the face masks, right? So those are things that we adapt to that still hit our goal, but might be something a little different. So we appreciate everything that you're doing, everything that the staff is doing. Support is doing a phenomenal job. So thank you.
And Councilmember Lorimar, we'll work to figure out a larger overhaul, maybe a workshop dedicated to the two new council members and the new council that'll be formed at the November 4th election. So we can work to bring them up to speed in December, and hopefully sometime in January or February we can have a workshop so that we can align our budget next year with our strategic plan as we have done for the last 2 years. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Rigby?
Sorry, just one more comment that I had just on the enhancement community quality of life. I just wanted to give a shout out to Chris on this. This is something that he has kind of just taken on and done himself outside of what he's his work specific. And I mean, you look at these pictures, and I would hate to live next door to the first picture. And like our city manager mentioned, I was there and helped with this. To see the neighbors come out after this, you could see their difference in their disposition of, wow, okay, it's cleaned up. So great job to Chris, but also great job to our community for coming out and participating in this. I even got, one of the days I got my two little ones out there. So they were out raking and pulling weeds and doing all that stuff. So thank you to the community. Thank you to Chris. And this is what's awesome about Eastville, is we come together for things like this for members of our community that need help. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. All right, this is just a receive and file, so there's nothing to vote on, so we'll move to item 13.4. It's the award a construction contract to Aramex Group for Eastvale's 2020 landscape median project in the amount of $313,110.22. And this will be presented by Mr. Bill Hemsley.
We good? Thank you. So this item before you tonight is regarding the award of a construction contract to Aramex Group Incorporated for the Eastvale's 2020 landscape median project in the amount of $313,110.22. Staff went through the process of preparing the project bid documents and getting it through the bid process, received 5 bids. Lowest responsible bidder is Aramex Group. There was a bid protest with regard to some of the forms that were filled out. The city attorney's office looked at that, and therefore there is a recommendation to either award the contract to Aramex or to reject all bids, depending on the amount of risk. Staff believes that there is low risk to award to Aramex at this time. And if council so chooses to reject, then we would go back out to bid. It would add about 8 weeks to the time of the process. But again, we believe that the risk is minimal. Regarding the fiscal impact, there is sufficient funding in the budget. The project will be maintained. Council already approved a contract with Inland Empire Landscaping to do the landscaping, and that'll be paid for with gas tax funds. That concludes my report. Be happy to respond to any questions.
Thank you for that, Bill. Mark, is there any public comments on this?
No, Mayor.
Okay. We will now turn for council for any questions or discussions, and then we will start with Councilmember Rigby first, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for this presentation, Bill. One of the things going back to our strategic plan is constantly looking for areas to beautify our city, and I think this is one of those that we'll be able to do, and this is one of the areas that I've been asking, one of the medians I've been asking about for a while, so I really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to getting this done, and I know the residents are too, especially on Limonite. This is one of our main thoroughfares, so it'll be nice to see that getting done, so thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Lorimore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm getting a little. Okay.
Try now.
All right. Perfect. Do we have either any applicants in the room this evening? Anybody wishing? And I might have missed it about public comment.
Yeah, no, there's no one that is here, Clint.
Okay. All right. Excellent. No, I read through this. Seems good. I do not have any questions at this time. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Yao.
Thank you. I don't have any questions, but I think it will be helpful if we can have the city attorney or the city manager just explain a little bit more about what happened with the bid protest and with the irregularities, just for clarification for the public in case anyone has any concern. If we just spend a few minutes doing that, I think that would be really helpful.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Yao. This is Erica Vega, City Attorney. So the bid protest process works where a bidder who is not the lowest responsible bidder is allowed to submit a protest. They'll raise their grounds, and we assess whether there's a need to accept their protest or not. In this particular case, the 3 grounds that were raised were relatively minor things that, under the law, would be considered inconsequential, and so can be waived by the city council, meaning you can overlook any minor deficiencies in the bid and go ahead and proceed to award. And that I am comfortable with the city making that choice this evening. I feel that the issues that were raised were very minor and inconsequential, and the council has the power to waive those.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And that was actually my question was more or less there's obviously, I wouldn't use the word discrepancy, but a big difference in almost, nearly $80,000 difference from one bid to the next, from the lowest bidder to the second lowest bidder. But as I said, if you feel that those items are very minor, and there's no issues with the city, then I'm good to move forward with this if there are no further questions or comments.
Mr. Mayor, I would move for approval of this item.
Second.
Councilmember Lorimore,
Aye.
Councilmember Rigby,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Yao,
Yes.
Mayor Plott.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right. We'll now move to item 13.5, award a construction contract to PTM General Engineering Services, Inc. for pedestrian countdown head improvement project in the amount of $521,888.40. And this will be presented once again by Mr. Bill Hemsley.
Am I on? So this item is regarding pedestrian heads. There's a program that the city received a grant for through the Highway Safety Improvement Program. Been a couple years. It's been going through the design process. The project will replace 236 pedestrian heads with new LED countdown heads, replace 298 push buttons with 2-inch diameter push buttons, and install audible pedestrian signal systems at 22 intersections and improve existing ramps that do not meet the ADA standard at this time. There is a map shown in the staff report. It shows locations of these improvements. Staff went through the bidding process, prepared the bid documents, received a competitive bid of 10 bids. The lowest bidder, as you mentioned, the title is PTM General Engineering Services out of Riverside in the amount of $444,444. And there was some irregularities with this, but they were very minor and noted by the city attorney's office to be inconsequential. And so staff is recommending that they be listed as the low bidder. And
Bill, if I may, sorry to interrupt you. For the bid amount, you said $474,444.
$474,444. Sorry.
Perfect. Just wanted to make sure it was clarified. Thank you.
Clarifying that. Yes. And then
if we can get it lower, that'd be great. But
I could try. That sometimes works with change orders to go the right way. So with regard to the fiscal impact, there's sufficient funding being paid for from HSIP and Measure A and DIF for the various components of the project. With that, that concludes my report. Be happy to respond to any questions.
Okay. Mark, has there been anybody requested for public comment?
No, Mayor.
Okay, we'll wait a few seconds. All right, Councilmember Lorimore, you're up.
Thank you. Now, it sounds good aside from the name. It's a horrible name for this countdown head thing. After reading through the staff report, I understand what it means, but the technical name is terrible. But sounds good to me. Thank you.
Do you have any recommendations for that?
Yeah, let's say feel free to make a motion and change the name if you want, Councilmember. Councilmember Rigby.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Yao.
Actually, I do just one quick comment, and I'm assuming it's been taken care of, but I just want to make sure I check all the boxes. I'm assuming everything is ADA compliance. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's accurate. That's why some of the ramps were not compliant, and that's what this project will do, is to bring them into compliance, so it will be ADA compliant. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
I have no questions, so there, I just ask for a motion to approve.
So move for approval.
Second.
Councilmember Lorimore,
Aye.
Councilmember Rigby,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Yao,
Yes.
Mayor Plott.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right. We'll now move to item 13.6, award a construction contract to Hardy and Harper, Inc. for 2020 annual asphalt concrete overlay project in the amount of $1,504,800. And this will be presented once again by Mr. Bill Hemsley.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council. This item is the next overlay project for 2020. Staff went through the process of preparing the bid documents, evaluating the pavement management program, and again, it was a competitive process with 8 responsive bidders received. Lowest responsive bid was received by Hardy and Harper in the amount of $1,368,000. And they have all the appropriate licenses. There's sufficient funding in the project account for that through the CIP budget. And one thing I'd like to mention is that I guess in past years there have been some issues with detector loops. Staff will ensure that that doesn't occur this year, that the loops will not be disabled for more than the minimal amount of time for that. So that concludes my report. I'd be happy to respond to any questions.
Marcus, any public comment on this?
No, Mayor.
All right, then we will turn to council for discussion, and we'll start with Councilmember Rigby. Have you noticed I just kind of been switching between you and Councilmember Lorimore, just back and forth?
Yep, I noticed. Thank you. I don't have any questions on this. I think it's good. The only thing that I would like to possibly see, just for the public's information, just in future things like this, is if we can include the pavement management program calendar, just so that the public does know when the process of certain streets are being done. Because I think that may come up that, okay, this area is being done now, what area is being done next, what area has just been done. I think it just helps to clarify to the community of what's happening. But other than that, thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
Councilmember Lorimore.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate the comments of Councilmember Rigby. I'm in agreement with that. Would love to see that, and I think it'd be helpful for everybody, and that it be intuitive, the documentation. So as we move forward and do this in the future. But yeah, looks good. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Mayor Pro Tem Yao.
I don't have any questions at this moment. Thank you.
Councilor Rigby had a comment or a question as well. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
I do. Going back to the loops that were torn up before, one of the other concerns that the community had when this was done last time was that they went through and they ground up all the roadways that were being ground up at the very beginning of the project and then didn't overlay them until the very end of the project. Is there any way to avoid that? Because during that time there was there was almost 2 full months of the road just being ground up and dirty and dusty, and that they were just sitting, and everyone was, well, when are these going to be done? Why did they grind them at the very beginning and not finish them until the very end?
That does, it does tie in, at least for the arterial streets, so we won't give them encroachment permits to do that again. So we'll make sure they get the streets done that they can do within whatever time frame. We'll work with them going through the pre-con process to make sure that doesn't happen again. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up.
Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Councilmember Rigby, that grinding is what ripped up the loop detection and caused the whole a maximum of the traffic signal operations. And so staff learned a very valuable lesson that year. They did that to save about $5,000 or $10,000 of mobilization costs for the contractor and for the taxpayer. But I think it cost about $500,000 in headaches for the taxpayer. The savings of doing it in that efficient manner did not outweigh the effectiveness of doing it a little bit more expensive. And so we have put that into the process with the contractor to allow them to do one street at a time rather than shut our whole city down and shut our all of our intersections down at the same time.
I would imagine we probably spent $5,000 to $10,000 in responding to the residents and dealing with everything of when that happened last time. So
to you alone,
don't know that was a savings.
All right, I have actually one quick question for Amanda. I noticed that in our, for our capital improvement program, and in the annual asphalt concrete overlay project, we have about $4.3 million that's set aside for the year, and this is 1.5. Are we still good on pace? I'm assuming this is a yes, but are we good on pace for the rest of the year, knowing kind of what our tendencies are when we do asphalt? Are we pretty much on target to stay on pace for the rest of the year and be okay within that budget?
That actually, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if there's additional projects that are going to be done under that overlay project. Bill might actually have to answer that question for you.
So the answer is yes, there's sufficient funding, and we will stay within that budget for whatever projects that are coming ahead.
Perfect. That's all I had. Thank you. Thank you both. With that said, just looking for a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Lorimore?
Aye.
Councilmember Rigby?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Yao?
Yes.
Mayor Plott?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right. We'll now move to item 13.7, COVID-19 update, the 60-day emergency declaration review, and this will be presented by our city manager, Brian Jones.
So the most meaningless statistic ever is the rolling current positive cases, because most of them have already recovered. But it's, for some reason, that's how we report things. But confirmed cases in Riverside County over the last 5 or 6 months is 51,000. Confirmed deaths in Riverside County, 978. Confirmed recoveries in Riverside County is 28,400. We don't have a count for about 33,000, or 23,000, I should say. And then confirmed cases in Eastville is 930, and confirmed deaths in Eastville is 15. So our confirmed deaths went up by 6 since the last council meeting in July. Temporary suspension of street sweeping violations. The city temporarily suspended enforcement of street sweeping violations on Monday, July 20th, 2020, until further notice, and we have not resumed that yet. If council wants to provide direction on when you would like us to resume that, we can. Governor issues new guidance effective on August 4th. Organized youth sports activities, sports conditioning, and practices may resume at local parks with JCSD field allocation permits, and effective immediately. So both JARPD and JCSD are both working with the youth sports programs. Free mask giveaway at City Hall will be on September 1st from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. That's what 12 p.m. is. Just so people don't come here all night long. Emergency declaration review. Council last reviewed the extent and extended the local emergency declaration on June 24th. And staff is requesting to extend the local emergency declaration for an additional 60 days. I think we also did an update in July too, didn't we?
Yeah, but we extended in June.
Okay. And that is the update on COVID-19.
Thank you for that report and presentation. Mark, is there any public comment on this?
No, Mayor.
Wait a few seconds. If someone decides to come back in, we can always bring him back in. So, all right, we'll move to Councilmember Lauren Moore for any comments or questions.
Thank you. Appreciate the update. We're being asked to weigh in on whether or not to continue this. I believe that we should. And we are going to get through this, and we just have to look for the opportunities that present themselves along the way. Thank you.
Councilmember Rigby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I would agree if we continue the state of emergency. We continue that. I'm hesitant to say this because I know I'm going to get ridiculed for it, but I'm going to say it anyways. But I would recommend that we move forward with a street enforcement for street sweeping. We're going to have to do it sooner or later. Kids are going back to college. That was one of the big reasons, was kids going back to college and people not being in work. People are going back to work. Obviously, I think we do what we did last time. We don't do it right away. We give a notice, and we give sufficient time for people to get back. But I don't think it's something that we can just continue to do. And I mean, we need to do our street sweeping, and we're going to have to do it sooner or later. And I think it doesn't hurt to do it now.
We could put together a campaign and have it start up after Labor Day weekend or something like that. That'd be a couple weeks notice, right?
Yeah.
I would say at least that. Maybe even September, the middle of September, September 15th, just kind of a mid-month kind of thing. And that gives everyone the opportunity, because I know that some people don't go back to school until right after Labor Day. Gives everyone all that time to get back. But like I said, I think it's just, we've got to do it. We've got to get it back. We're going to have to do it sooner or later, and might as well just get it going again.
Mayor Pro Tem Yao?
If I may, Mr. Mayor,
sorry.
And on that, that's not a revenue collection reason as to why we're doing this or why I'm trying to do this. This is because we have street sweeping. We're supposed to be doing it, and it's a environmental thing that we're required to do our street sweeping. The revenue that we generate from street sweeping is not anything that the city really counts on to fund things that the city's doing. It's very minimal on the grand scheme of things. So it's not a revenue. It's not because we need the revenue that we're going back to street sweeping and enforcing.
Thank you for that. Mayor Pro Tem Yao.
Thank you. I can totally see where Councilmember Rigby is coming from. I do, if we were to proceed with this, I definitely recommend that we do a lot of we promote it, make sure that people are aware of it. But also, I do recognize the fact that we're still in a pandemic, and that financial difficulties might be finance situation might be a challenge for some families. I'm trying to think, like, after his comment, I'm trying to think of ways that maybe we can meet in the middle. Maybe we can have some sort of forgiveness program. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. Maybe we can come back to me after this, but I totally see that the need to have street sweeping. I agree with Councilmember Rigby, but I'm also trying to think of a way to really to take into consideration of folks who are struggling. So if anyone has any idea, feel free to jump ahead and just propose that.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I think Councilman Rigby has a comment or question as well.
Just regarding that, I totally understand the concern, and I understand people's financial difficulty on that. And I think that's why it's important that we give adequate time and we do publicize it as much as we can. I would strongly disagree with doing a relief on this. I'm looking at Lieutenant Boyd, because if we do a relief on this, then I'm going to start asking, if I get a speeding ticket, can I also get a relief? Because I'm having a tough financial time. It's a slippery slope. If we do it for one, then where do we stop it? Do we stop it at street sweeping, or do we allow it for fire hydrant parking, for handicap parking, for speeding, for where do we stop? I think it just becomes tough. And I think that's why it's more important that we utilize the time. If we need to go to October 1st, I'm fine with that. I think it's more of making sure that everyone knows. And then how long do you give that relief to people? Is it only for the first month? Is it for the first 2 months? I think doing a relief is a very slippery slope that we've got to be very careful, and I would strongly recommend we don't do that, that we set a further target date of starting the street enforcement and get more marketing and more communication out there to our residents. I think would be the better route to go than to do some sort of relief. Because the other thing too is what gives you relief and not me relief? How come Brandon got the street sweeping ticket waived and I didn't? So I don't know. That's just my thoughts on that. I know he's better looking, and that's why he just, came in and winked as he asked for the waiver and got it approved, but
that is not true.
But for the record, we wouldn't waive either one of you.
So I think maybe, just to so we can kind of hone this in, I think it sounds like we all agree on the local declaration of emergency. The only discussion here is the street sweeping. I think 2 weeks, September 15th being 2.5 weeks from here on out, it's a little too, I don't feel like it's enough time to get the word out and allow us to kind of multiple times put through our social media outlets and the various outlets that we have. But I think, extending to October 1 or the end of September, I'd say October 1 is probably the best time to start, or that, whatever first Monday or whatever we decide. But
Mr. Mayor, last time we restarted it, we gave a month's worth of notice.
Yeah, I think that would be
duplicate
appropriate. So I'd say October 1 is the suggestion I would make. Gives ample amount of time. I do agree with Councilmember Rigby that we do need to adhere to some of the things that we have to do as far as cleaning our city. There are people still going back to school, but they're still being at home, right? So cars are still being parked. But we do need to proceed with this, and it's only a certain amount of time, and a lot of time within 1 day out of the week. So we just got, as our residents, need to remember that they have to move their cars during that one particular time of the week.
Mr. Mayor, just a thought, if you're going to start October, the 1st is a Thursday, so if you wanted to do beginning of the week, October 5th would be the Monday.
Then that's how I would do. My suggestion would be October 5th, start it there, and then go from there. So that'd be kind of my 2 cents on it. That'd be something that I would put into a motion to see if we got approval. But before we do that, I don't know if Councilmember Lorrimore, I know Mayor Pro Tem, I think you probably have something more comments. So I'll go to Councilmember Lorrimore if you have any questions or comments on that.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good discussion, and I'd like to start with a question, and then I do have some thoughts. Are we doing street sweeping right now?
Yes, we are street sweeping, but there's a number of cars that are parked along the sidewalk, and so the street sweeper is not getting in the gutter where it needs to be.
Okay. All right. So thank you for the clarification. While I respect my fellow council members, I may very well be in the minority on this. I don't think that we should be going back to enforcement. As for the happy medium, that middle ground that Mayor Pro Tem Yao had articulated or was searching for, maybe it is that we encourage people to move their cars, and that we are not going through and ticketing people, but if they could please move their cars from one permanent location, because we do have a lot of people that are out of work. A lot of colleges are all doing it remotely. Students are not on campus, they're back at home. We have had where we went through previously and said, we're not going to do it. And then we came back and said, we are going to do it. And we started to do it, and then we stopped it. All those same reasons are still around. I don't see, and we are actively declaring that we are still in this state of emergency. We need to be compassionate during this time, particularly with some people, their incomes are not affected. Some people, they absolutely are. They are on the knife's edge. We don't want to, even a small fine can still be that thing that pushes somebody over. I'm not trying to be dramatic, but life is uncertain right now for a lot of families. And I think that we can communicate with the community, asking them to, work with us in moving their cars. But I certainly don't want us to look schizophrenic in our actions if we are to re-implement, and then we have people come back and complain like they did previously, and then we turn around and stop again. I appreciate where my colleagues are coming from. I truly do. I just want to make sure that we need to provide certainty and clarity to our residents. And I also feel that we need to be compassionate during this time. And I think that our residents can work with us on this. So those are my thoughts. I would love to hear additional comments or discussion on this. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Yao, you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I am leaning towards what Councilmember Lori Moore suggested.
Okay, perfect. No note taken. Councilman Rigby, you have a question?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm hopeful that our community would respond positively, but I'm not holding my breath to that. We've asked them to before, and that's why our street sweeper has probably gotten done with our city in about half the time that they normally would, is because they're just blowing by all the cars that are there. I understand the compassion side, but there comes a point that we have to get back to enforcement. So my question to my colleagues is if you're strongly opposed to this, what are we looking for in order to put this back into place? Because it can't be something that we do forever. I mean, it's an enforcement. We're required to do it. We should have been doing it. We shouldn't have stopped doing it the second time when we did. We have a number of parks throughout the city. Every neighborhood has a park with a parking lot in our city. We have homes that have good-sized driveways that they should be able to park their cars on the driveways. It is, as a reminder, it is once every 2 weeks for about 4 to 6 hours on that day. So you're talking, max 12 hours a week that they've got to move their car. So I guess my question is if we aren't going to do it now, when are we going to do it?
Councilmember Lori Moore or Mayor Pro Tem, anyone want to answer that?
Well, I think very simply, and I say it with total love and respect, we do it when we stop declaring an emergency. And, we're declaring an emergency for a reason. So that would be my recommendation. But I'm totally open to further discussion. Absolutely. Thank you.
Here, let me ask you this. This would be a recommendation for a motion. We approve the obviously continue the local declaration of emergency, which I think that sounds like there's a consensus on that. Let's table the discussion as far as street sweeping is concerned, because it sounds like we won't have a consensus just by the sake of dialogue that we're having now. We could go back and forth and probably we'll still be up at the same result. So I think once current events start changing, let's bring this back up to discussion, is my thought, and then kind of go from there. And I don't know, maybe we can have a consensus on that before we make a motion. Is everyone good with that? Mayor Pro Tem Yao, you good with that?
Yes.
Councilmember Lori Moore?
Yes, absolutely.
Councilman Rigby?
Yes, I'm good with that, but I strongly feel that there needs to come a time that we're put in to make tough decisions, and we're required to do certain things, and we need to follow through with those things that we're required to do.
Then I would ask, let's bring this up from an agenda item. Let's review the street sweeping aspect of it their second meeting in September. And let's do it for that and bring it back up and see where we get from there. So then my motion is this, that we I'll make a motion then to approve the local declaration, to continue the local declaration of emergency, and we'll just continue the street sweeping, how our protocol is, the way it is, as it stands currently. That would be my motion. Is that clear,
Yeah.
Erica? Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
if I could add on to possible direction, if everyone agrees, that we do ask to engage. We do engage our residents on social media, asking them to, try and abide by the street sweeping stuff and explain, that we need, the cars need to move at least when the street sweeper's coming by, and that we actually do an engagement program explaining the reasoning behind it, and that we aren't right now ticketing because we understand their situation, but if they could please work with us, I think that would go, I'm hoping that it will go a long way, and then we can, Councilmember Rigby has very valid points, and if the public does not work with us on this, then we can come back and readdress this. But I hope that we make that effort. So if you agree, Mr. Mayor, if it's part of your motion that direction to staff is that we look to engage and encourage voluntary participation in moving cars and the importance of it, that'd be appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm absolutely for that. Mark, can we put like some type of social media campaign together in regards to what Councilman Larmore is saying? Just kind of see where that goes to see if we can get some engagement with the community on that.
Yes, Mayor, we can do that.
All right. Well, there was a motion already on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Lorimore?
Aye.
Councilmember Rigby?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Yao?
Yes.
Mayor Plott?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay. And again, we'll reconvene that discussion on street sweeping at the second meeting in September to look at kind of where we stand. Okay, we will go now to item number 13.8, City Council Regional Appointment Vacancies. And Mark, this is your item to present.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. Due to the resignation of Councilmember Joe Cesari on August 12, 2020, the following vacancies have been created on regional and city committees. And bear with me, there's a lot of them. Southern California Association of Governments, the alternate; Western Riverside County Regional Conservation Authority, the alternate; Western Riverside Council of Governments, the delegate; Vector Control District, he's the delegate; Western Community Energy, alternate; Eastville Finance Committee, the primary; Eastville Schools Committee, alternate; Eastville Legislative Committee, primary; Civic Center Subcommittee, the primary; 2020 Census Ad Hoc Committee; Art Mural Ad Hoc Committee; Health and Wellness Ad Hoc Committee, and the COVID-19 Economic Recovery Ad Hoc Committee. The council usually takes these vacancies or these appointments in December every year. We're asking if you could make temporary appointments to fulfill these until December when the new council is installed. I'm happy to take them one by one, and then if you guys want to decide who will take the appointment, then we can go down the list.
Perfect. Mark, has there been any public comment on this?
No, Mayor.
All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go down the list and see if there's anybody that wants to volunteer. But before I do that, is there any comments from council before we get into this? And Councilman Rigby, you're kind of nodding right now.
I just have a quick question and recommendation. I don't know how everyone else feels, but on ones that he was the primary for, or the main one, and if someone was an alternate, I don't know if the alternate just wants to move directly up to that primary one, and then that may make it a little easier for some of these other ones, or some of the ones to get filled right away.
All right. I think
just my thought.
No, I think that's a good approach. So it just, because I might not remember which ones are what. So, or if you could.
I can, so the Western Riverside Council of Governments, he was the delegate, and Vector Control, he was the delegate. Those, Vector Control doesn't have an alternate, so that would have to be someone new, but we do have an alternate for WRCOG.
And that is actually me.
That's you, yes.
Okay, so I'll move into that role for now,
Okay.
be the primary, that'd be fair. Well, before I say that, Councilor Lorrimore, Mayor Pro Tem, are you both okay with that idea, that if you're the alternate, just become the primary? I should ask for you guys first before I start making the suggestions.
Yes, I think that's a great recommendation by Councilmember Rigby.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem, you good with that?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to go through the list and then okay. So, for SCAG, the alternate, he was the alternate. Who do we want to fill that in for SCAG? And obviously Clint's the primary right now, right?
Correct.
So do we have, anybody volunteering to be the alternate?
Does Clint even need an alternate?
Yeah, probably not. So then I'll be the alternate. There we go. SCAG, Brandon is the alternate. Okay. West Riverside County Regional Conservation Authority, the alternate. Jocelyn, you're the primary. Anybody want to volunteer the alternate for that?
I can, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All right. Let's see. West Riverside Council of Governments, I'll become the primary. Do we need to designate an alternate for that as well?
You can.
Does anybody would like to be an alternate with me on the on WRCOG?
I'll take it.
Okay. Northwest Mosquito Vector Control. He's the only delegate.
Correct.
I'd like to volunteer for that one, Mr. Mayor.
All right. You got that, Mark?
I dislike mosquitoes, so.
Yeah, that and possums. I've heard your discussion on possums at a lengthy conversation. You sent me many pictures of possums. Western WC. So Councilor Rigby is the primary. Any alternate for WC? I'll run on that because I was kind of involved in the earlier stages with that, so I'm somewhat familiar with it. So I'll do that. Eastvale Finance Committee, they serve with me. Clint, that's kind of natural because you've literally been filling in every time for Joe for the last couple months. Would you want to just naturally? That just makes sense.
My pleasure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Eastvale Schools Committee. I believe Todd, you're the primary.
Mr. Mayor,
Do
on that
you need
note,
an alternate for Finance Committee? If so, I'd be more than willing to.
Yeah, let's do Todd for the alternate, Clint as the primary along with me. And then Eastvale Schools Committee, Todd's the primary. And then anybody want to be the alternate? Jocelyn?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Oh, both of you. Okay. Oh, then so now there's two primaries. Okay, so I guess we need an alternate as well. Are you guys pretty good?
We're probably okay on that because that's not a voting, it's not a voting meeting or committee, so I don't think we need an alternate. I think between Jocelyn and I, we can handle it. Eastvale Schools Committee.
Eastvale Legislative Committee primary. That's with Councilmember Lorrimore.
I wouldn't mind being on that if I can, Mr. Mayor.
Yep. All right. Civic Center Subcommittee. I believe, Jocelyn, you're also one of the primaries on that, right?
Yeah.
Is anybody like to be the primary on that?
Hand raised.
All right. Councilmember Lorrimore got it. 2020 Census Ad Hoc Committee. Who's on? Is it Jocelyn?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the census is ending in less than a month, so
Yeah, we don't need.
need anyone for that.
I don't think we need to fill that. Are we good with that? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. The Art Mural Ad Hoc Committee. I believe that was Councilmember Lorrimore.
That's also
closing up.
Well.
That's also closing up. Yeah. Okay, I think we're good on that. Health and Wellness Ad Hoc Committee. that was, Joe and, was it Todd? Was it Jocelyn? Would anybody like to jump on that with Jocelyn?
I nominate you, Mr. Mayor.
I will do that. Health and, let me write this down, please. Health and wellness. Okay, and the COVID-19 Economic Recovery Ad Hoc Committee, which we were talking about earlier, this would be with Councilmember Rigby. We have one additional person to add to that. I think this is somebody that would want to have it for the long haul, and I'm not trying to pull myself out of it, but it would just make sense to have someone that's, assuming that's going to go beyond the election. I think it'd be good to have either Jocelyn or Clint on that.
I'm happy to join the committee.
Okay. All right. Sounds like we've got it handled. Do we need to make a motion on these, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I would so move the approval of the recommendations that you made for the appointments.
Second.
I think Clint got that one. Councilmember Lorimore?
Aye.
Councilmember Rigby?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Yao?
Yes.
Mayor Plott?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Mark, I have one quick question too. Will you, at least to some of these regional committees, will you be putting out emails or communications out to the appropriate contacts to let them know who those?
Yes, we will.
Okay.
We will contact all the board clerks and let them know of the changes.
Thank you. That's perfect. All right. Well, before we move, got kind of an important announcement. Before we move on to the city manager report, something I'd like to mention. It's a unfortunate thing. There's someone in this room that's actually a year older now in this room, and it so happens to be his birthday, and that's our very own, our city manager, Brian Jones. Happy birthday. Feliz cumpleaños, Senor Jones.
While I'm a little bit older, I have a birthday twin in the room as well, and she's across the way, and that's our city attorney.
Oh, well, happy birthday, Erica. I apologize. I did not know.
We're both Virgos, and we're both right, which is really difficult.
Yes, absolutely. I could feel the alphaness in the room. Well, we got you some cake pops on behalf of the staff. So, yeah, I'll put it out here just for you guys. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Are you guys' birthdays on the same day?
Yeah.
Seriously? Wow, that's pretty cool. Erica, I greatly apologize. Yeah.
We did an awesome job with our selection of leadership. If both of our main leaders are same birthday, same day, oh my goodness.
Well, I will say this, Erica, you're the one that got all the balloons next to you, so they were definitely celebrating. So, well, while Mark is passing out those cake pops, Ryan, would you want to lead us in the city manager report?
Lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
That's what I was about to say, yeah.
So I'll start off with City Attorney Erica Vega celebrates her birthday tomorrow, like myself. So join me in wishing her a very happy birthday. She will always be younger than me, so she has to respect her elders. Finance received the Draft CARES Act Coronavirus Relief Fund reports from the Department of Finance. Reporting is due on September 4th. The final tax numbers on June 30th will be reported to council at the next meeting. The groundbreaking ceremony for Eastvale's first hotel, a 4.5-star Staybridge Suites, took place yesterday. It will have a rooftop bar, conference and event center, pool and cabana area, and the only vegan food option in Western Riverside County. Completion of the hotel is expected to take place in the next 12 to 14 months. The County of Riverside has generously donated face masks to the City of Eastvale for distribution to the community. City Hall will host a free face mask giveaway on Tuesday, September 1st from 9 a.m. to noon. In order to maintain social distancing, individuals picking up masks will be asked to drive up in their vehicles, and the masks will be handed, and we will be handing handing to them through the car window. Remember that City Hall will be closed on Monday, September 7th in observation of Labor Day holiday. Save the dates. This year's 9/11 memorial ceremony and moment of silence will be live streamed on the city's Facebook and Instagram live. The ceremony begins Friday, September 11th at 6:45 a.m. The virtual State of the City will be held on Thursday, October 1st, and it will also be celebrating our 10th anniversary of incorporation, so we will be turning double digits on October 1st. Melissa Mendoza has been hired as the new planning technician, and so you might see her around City Hall. And that is the end of the city manager updates.
Thank you, Brian, for that. Follows good updates. And yes, we are excited for that 4.5-star hotel. That thing is going to be amazing. And the rooftop bar and the cabana pool area, it's just going to be pretty awesome. So we're very, very excited. That's a huge, huge win for the city, and we truly appreciate the efforts of staff to get up there. That thing, it's really a game changer in our city. It's a domino to what's going to happen after that as well.
One more thing, I think there's going to be a soft opening fairly soon of a restaurant in the station. Is it Genya Ramen?
Or station. Genya's on. Sorry.
Which one? Which one? Yoshihara Ramen up at the station. I think within one of the next Fridays is going to be having a soft opening. So keep your eye out on that storefront. If you start seeing people piling up around there, that means it's open.
All right. All right. We will now go to City Council Communication Committee reports. Clint, I'll typically start with you. The league, SCAG, and RCTC.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, so a couple of updates. Well, first of all, I want to start off and reiterate my appreciation for this council, the makeup of this council, and that included, of course, Councilmember Tessari, who's no longer with us. I really appreciate the thoughtfulness that all the council members bring to these meetings, and on the occasions where we disagree, we do so respectfully, and at the end of it, we come out and we no hard feelings afterwards. And I really appreciate how well this council works together. And I must admit, I know that there are changes in the wind coming down the pipeline, in that we will have two new council members in the beginning of in December. So I just want to put that out there, that I really appreciate the working relationship that we have. For the different committees, with COVID-19 right now, everything is being done virtually, and it honestly has become a blur for a lot of these things. We did have, I believe, a cancellation of some of our, I know we have had cancellations of some of our meetings, but last week we did, or 2 weeks ago, we had, SCAG had the Executive Administrative Committee had its retreat, and when I say retreat, that means we all got on the phone for a couple hours over a 2-day period of time and discussed the plan for moving forward over the coming year. And a lot of the at least overt meetings have been absolutely impacted by COVID-19, and the ability to have large functions has also been curtailed. So specifically upcoming, and I would encourage everybody to check your emails. I think if it hasn't gone out already, it will go out soon. There'll be an invite to an economic forum that SCAG will be doing, and it's going to be doing double duty this year, and it's going to take place in October. It was scheduled to take place actually in Long Beach, but doesn't look like we're going to be able to do it in person. So if you can, it's going to be done virtually. I forget the exact date, but it's going to be again in October, and it's going to be a treat is what I'm hearing from the staff and what they're planning for that. And it will be kind of, like I say, doing double duty, making up for the fact that SCAG was not able to hold its General Assembly in May. So keep that on, keep an outlook for that. Put that on your radar. Let me see here. The other one that we have, let me see here. Also, part of my comments, a request, if we could bring back the bidding policies that we have in place for discussion. So I guess this is more of a question or a request for Erica to come back and share with us our policies that we do have in place. Specifically, I would like to understand the positives and negatives of adding in a local preference as part of the criteria. And so whether or not it would be beneficial or negative to put in maybe a 5% or 10% weight for a local contractor. And when I say local, in Riverside County, because sometimes I see bids that are close that they might not be the lowest bidder, but in a neighboring or even a far afield county. And I would like us to be able to think that process through. So RCTC is going to be having a meeting tomorrow, the toll lane policy committee that I'm on. Also, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, and Karen Spiegel did put out an announcement on it, but the funding was approved for an addition of lanes over on the 91 freeway going towards the 241 and going west. So it's a win for the area, a win for our residents who are commuting. It's probably not going to solve the problem, but it's working to solve it as well with the funds we have available, and they'll maybe provide some relief. So those are my updates, and I don't know for that request on the policies. I don't know if there needs to be a second to that or a agreement from the council to have that heard.
Sorry, I was just approaching the mic. Councilmember Rigby is nodding his head, saying that he agrees with that request. So I'll bring that back. I'll work with Brian and the city clerk's office on scheduling that for a future council meeting.
Excellent. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Clint, for that update. WRCOG will pass. Again, I was the alternate on it, but there's been no meetings, and the last meeting Joe was at, he's no longer, so we don't have a report from him. You can always Zoom call him, don't ask him for one, but you know. RTA, there's no meeting tomorrow. We actually go dark in August, and Keith's already kind of gave the update of just barely of Omnitrans, but in the connection there, but as well as RTA's update. We'll move to Todd. Let's move to WCE and JCSD Parks Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's been no meeting for WCE. We did meet for JCSD last week, and Clint filled in for Mr. Mayor, so thanks for being there, Clint. If I miss anything, feel free to share. But we had some good conversations about the condition of the parks and opening them back up to the youth sports programs. They talked about events. One of the things that's exciting that they're working on, but I think I can share it since they shared it in that meeting, is JCSD has recently purchased their own drive-in movie theater equipment. So they're waiting for that to come in, and once that comes in, we will have events like that here in the city. So that'll be an awesome opportunity for us to be able to utilize that. The Desi House is still work in progress. They're also working with, one of our big concerns from the city side has been working with the HOA, and JCSD has been working with the HOA on not only the completion of that project, but how it's going to operate and making sure that they're working closely with the HOA. The last thing is one of the complaints that we've received lately has been about street frontage maintenance, and they're working on that. They're working on that with a new with the current vendor, and have a new supervisor that's over that. One of the things that they are doing to help the residents to see and know what's happening is they will have a maintenance schedule on their website that will show you exactly what areas are being done in what week. And that should be available on their website September 7th. So that'll be a nice thing. They're doing that to be a little bit more transparent, and so that they can be held accountable a little bit more too. So the last thing is they are getting a new parks director that is going to start next month. So next month they will have a new parks director that will be working there. They had a interim parks director for the last 6+ months, and now they are making their permanent hire. So that's all I have on that. And if Councilmember Lorimer has anything to add, more than welcome to.
You nailed it. That was great.
All right, Northwest Mosquito Vector Control, again, that'll be reported by Councilmember Lorimer on the next go-around. But I can say there was no meeting. They did not make quorum last week. Or was it Monday? Yeah, they did not make quorum. Actually, it was on Monday. All right, Western Riverside County Regional Conservation Agency. Jocelyn, that's all you.
We have not had a meeting in, I think, 2 months now, so no report.
And there's another report on the Finance Committee. So with that, we'll move to City Council Communications. Councilmember Rigby, any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one quick thing. I was just thinking, I just was reminded about it. If we can get, in sometime the near future, I know we've asked before about this, but if we can get just a report from staff and law enforcement on the speed radar signs and the camera ALPRs, not on the details, but I think it would be good and beneficial for the community to see the tools that we have done, or that we have invested in within the community for our public safety, and how they have impacted our city. So if we can just get some sort of brief report as to, how many cars they're tracking and how they're being used, how they're being deployed, and I think it'd be good just for our community to see what our investments are actually doing. Because we've invested a significant amount in our law enforcement tools, and I think it'd be good to have that information.
Councilmember Rigby, we did just do a media release on that and put it out on social media within the last month that we worked on with RSO for the ALPR system, but we can bring that back to a council meeting as well.
Yeah, I think one of the things is more of the ALPRs is good, but one of the things is more of the speed radars, because there's been a lot of talk, especially on social media, about those, specifically asking, hey, I saw it flashing on Limonite. Did that mean I got a ticket? What are they being used for? How are they being used? All that kind of stuff. So if we can just share with the community just in a report, just in a staff report.
We'd love the community to think they were getting a citation with those, so maybe we don't want to clarify.
Yeah. I think it'd be good just to share kind of where we have them and how we utilize them, and that they are not permanent, especially for those people that have them in their neighborhoods thinking that, oh, I got one installed and it's going to be here forever. I think it'll help clarify that too.
Okay, thank you for that. Councilmember Lorimer.
I apologize. I combined my comments and the updates earlier, so I've said everything that I have to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem Miao.
Oh wait, actually, today is Women's Equality Day. I knew I was missing something. I was like, today is something important. And I double checked. It is indeed Women's Equality Day. It's, I'm very sleep deprived and I get my days and dates confused, but it is indeed Women's Equality Day, and I just want to remind everyone that the best way to practice, I'm sure we all know this by now, but the best way to practice democracy and this hard-earned right is to vote in this upcoming election. Remember to vote, use your voice, and vote in this upcoming election and every single election. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Mayor Pro Tem. We appreciate that. Yeah, I have no comments or updates, but I will say, kind of going back on Councilor Lomore's comments, definitely, Councilmember Tassari will definitely be missed. He was a great addition to this team. He was great to work with, and kind of going back to Councilmember, I think one of the most important things at council, there's a lot of things that are important. I think one of the most important things is to have continuity. You don't have to agree on everything. You can disagree, but continuity is very important to have relationship, to be able to agree to disagree, but still have respect for each other. And I think Councilmember Tassari embodied that and helped create an environment to where what we have right now, right, is to a mutual respect for everyone. And what that allows is the city to make decisions not based on personal biasnesses or things to get personal, but to do things that are collectively good for the city. And when you have continuity and a good environment to work with each other, you can make very sound decisions and productive decisions. So I want to thank him for that. And I know I was hoping to get a chance to do it this meeting. I thought he would actually be here at this meeting a while ago, but we kind of got a curveball thrown at us, so it wasn't the case. And so, but I just wanted that to at least share my gratitude to him and all that he's done. The next meeting of the Eastville City Council will be on September 9th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. This meeting is now adjourned. Before we adjourn, it's in the memory of an individual who was a victim of domestic violence over the last week. Chiana Hunter, who was a resident of Eastville and that passed away through domestic violence. We also want to, in memory of people that passed away due to COVID-19 the last recent month or two as well. So if we can just kind of have a moment of 10-second silence, and then the meeting will be adjourned. This meeting is now adjourned.